안녕하세요.
The following days were a whirlwind of events. Minho tried to maintain control of the company while dealing with his growing feelings for Ji-yoon. But passion wasn't his only problem. His father, Kang Dae-hyun, president of the Min Group board, had called an emergency meeting. The conference room was filled with stern glances. Minho sat at the center, facing his father and the most influential shareholders. Dae-hyun fixed his cold stare on his son before opening the discussion. "I've heard about your meetings with an employee," the patriarch said, crossing his arms. "Minho, you are the face of Min Group. Your irresponsible behavior could tarnish our reputation and drive away investors." Minho maintained his composure. "My personal life does not interfere with the company." "Doesn't interfere?" Dae-hyun's tone turned threatening. "Then explain why there are rumors that you intend to formalize this relationship. A woman without status, without connections, with nothing to offer." Minho clenched his fists under the table. "Yoon is not just any employee. She is a strong, hard-working woman. And precisely because of that, she will never be accepted," Dae-hyun retorted, standing up and staring at his son. "If you insist on this, you will lose everything." The threat hung in the air, but Minho had been expecting it. Taking a deep breath, he replied firmly, "If that's the price to be by her side, then I'm willing to pay." The shock among the shareholders was visible, but Dae-hyun only gave a bitter smile. "We'll see how long you can handle it." That night, Ji-yoon paced restlessly in her small apartment. Since hearing about the meeting, she couldn't think of anything else. When the doorbell rang, her heart raced. Minho was there, exhausted but with eyes full of emotion. "What happened?" Ji-yoon asked, pulling him inside. He sighed deeply before taking her hands in his. "My father wants to keep me away from you. He's willing to do anything to ensure that." Ji-yoon felt a tightness in her chest. "Minho, I don't want you to lose everything because of me." "Don't say that." He gently touched her face. "I would do it 1,000 times over, because you are the only thing that truly matters to me." Tears welled in Ji-yoon's eyes, but she smiled. "Then let's fight together." Minho pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling that, despite the storms, there was no better place in the world than by her side. The next few days grew even more difficult. Minho discovered that his father had ordered an internal audit to destabilize his management. Investors were being persuaded to withdraw, and malicious rumors were spreading. Meanwhile, Ji-yoon also came under pressure. Her supervisor called her into an unexpected meeting. "You're being let go, Ji-yoon." The shock was immediate. "But why?" "Orders from above. It's for the good of the company." Ji-yoon felt her legs weaken. Being dismissed meant losing her source of income. But worse, it meant they were trying to separate her from Minho. But if they thought she would give up so easily, they were mistaken. She left the building with renewed determination. If the love between her and Minho was being tested, so be it. Together, they would face it all. The luxurious boardroom of Kang Group was filled with a heavy atmosphere. Ji-hoon sat at the head of the table, surrounded by the company's most influential directors. His father, Kang Dae-hyun, looked at him with a clearly visible expression of discontent, while the shareholders whispered among themselves. "Ji-hoon, do you really believe you can continue with this madness?" His father's voice resonated firmly. "A CEO involved with an employee? That is a scandal." Ji-hoon folded his hands on the table, meeting his father's stern gaze. "My relationship with Sumin does not interfere with the company's interests. Since I took over Kang Group, profits have risen and we have expanded our influence in the international market. My results speak for themselves." Murmurs grew among the directors. Some agreed with Ji-hoon, but others appeared hesitant. Dae-hyun slammed his hand on the table, his expression growing even darker. "If you continue with this, you will lose not only the support of the shareholders, but also your place as my successor. Are you ready to give up everything?" Ji-hoon felt the weight of the decision. For years, he had sacrificed his own happiness for the sake of the company and the family. Now, he had to choose between maintaining his status or following the love that had transformed his life. Meanwhile, outside the building, Sumin paced back and forth, her heart racing. When she saw Ji-hoon leaving the meeting, she ran to him. "Ji-hoon, what happened?" she asked, holding his cold hands. He took a deep breath, trying to contain the torrent of emotions. My father gave me an ultimatum. If I stay with you, I lose everything. Su-min felt tears welling in her eyes. She did not want to be the reason for his ruin. With a trembling voice, she tried to let go of his hands. Then, perhaps it's better if we end this. But Ji-hoon held her firmly. Number, I choose you, Su-min. None of this matters if I cannot be by your side. She looked at him, surprised. He was willing to give up everything. Yet, she couldn't let him lose everything he had built. Then let's fight together, Ji-hoon. Let's find a way where no one has to lose. The next day, Ji-hoon convened an extraordinary meeting with the shareholders. He knew his father would try to push him out, but he was prepared. He presented a detailed strategic plan, securing alliances and strengthening his position. During the meeting, Ji-hoon's father confronted him once again. Do you really think you can defy your own family and come out unscathed? Ji-hoon opened a dossier on the table. My results speak for themselves. If the board has doubts, let them propose a motion of no confidence. Silence spread through the room. Ji-hoon's father, seeing his defeat, left the room without another word. Ji-hoon knew the battle was far from over, but he had bought himself some time. As he left, he found Su-min waiting for him. Without hesitation, he pulled her into a tight embrace. I've managed to buy us some time, but we still have a long road ahead. She tenderly touched his face. I will be by your side. Always. And so, ready to face any challenge, they moved forward together to confront the future. The tension within Kang Group hadn't completely dissipated, but Ji-hoon knew the worst was behind him. He had finally secured his position as CEO without relying on his father's approval, and his relationship with Su-min was stronger than ever. However, a new challenge emerged, facing society and showing that their love was above any prejudice. Business magazines splashed headlines about the relationship between one of the country's most influential men and an ordinary employee. Some shareholders still sneered, but public opinion was beginning to favor them, especially after Su-min was recognized for her intelligence and dedication within the company. One evening, Ji-hoon took Su-min to a special dinner at one of Seoul's most sophisticated restaurants, offering a panoramic view of the illuminated city. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, and he held her hand firmly, as if to ensure nothing in the world could ever tear them apart. Su-min, I know the road to this moment hasn't been easy. We've had to fight against everyone and everything, and you stayed by my side without hesitation, he said, his eyes reflecting sincere emotion. That's why I want to ask, in front of all of Seoul, will you marry me? Su-min's eyes widened, and she brought her hands to her mouth. No matter the challenges they had faced, in that moment, everything seemed worthwhile. With tears filling her eyes, she beamed. Yes, Ji-hoon, I want to marry you. The restaurant erupted in applause as he slipped a delicate ring onto her finger. The joy in both of their eyes showed that no external pressure could ever separate them. A few months later, their wedding took place, an unforgettable event. The media speculated about every detail, and journalists were eager for any misstep. But Ji-hoon and Su-min didn't care. In front of hundreds of guests and the entire city, they exchanged sincere, heartfelt vows. I promise to stand by your side through every battle, to love and protect you for the rest of my life, Ji-hoon said, tenderly holding her hands. I promise to be your partner, your safe harbor, and never let fear tear us apart, Su-min declared, her voice trembling with emotion. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Ji-hoon kissed her passionately, sealing not just a union, but a promising future together. 5 years later, the sound of children's laughter echoed through the garden of their home. Their son ran among the flowers, while Su-min cradled a little girl in her arms. Ji-hoon watched them, feeling more complete than he had ever imagined. Do you still remember the day we met? Su-min asked, leaning against his chest. How could I forget? It was the best thing that ever happened to me, he replied with a smile, kissing her forehead. The gentle breeze rustled the trees around them, and Ji-hoon realized that after everything, they had found true happiness. And so, with a love that had overcome all barriers, They continued together, building a future filled with promises and hope.